As it turns out, if you're gonna ask God for a favor, maybe you want to be a little bit more precise, because sometimes the way God interprets things might not be what you expect. Hello everybody and welcome to another light novel review. I'm Justus R. Stone, and on this channel I cover all things light novels. I do reviews like this one, news, I also do a weekly countdown of the most popular titles in Japan, and the light novel podcast is posted to this channel as well. So if you love light novels, or maybe you're just starting to get interested in them, you should consider subscribing. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing volume number 1 of FUNA's light novel series, Didn't I Say to Make My Abilities Average in the Next Life? This one is released in English by 7 Seas. They are also releasing the manga, and this is available both in ebook and in physical print format. In fact, 7 Seas has been releasing this one in ebook format ahead of the print releases. I'm a little bit late to the party on this one, actually. Volume number 4 is coming out in print this month of November 2018. So, yeah, I'm a little late to things, but, well, better late than never, I suppose. If you want to pick up your own copy of this book, I do have links in the description down below. Now, this book is written in the third person, and in Japan there are 8 volumes currently available. It is an ongoing series. This one focuses on main character Adele Van Ashem, who, on her 10th birthday, has a really bad headache, and it awakens memories within her that she is actually the reincarnation of a modern-day Japanese girl named Misato. Now, Misato was a very, very high-achieving young girl, and as she went through her life, she dealt with a lot of the sort of pains of others' high expectations, as well as the fact that she didn't really have any friends and such, because people just kind of assumed that since she was such a high achiever that she was unapproachable. So she's had a lot of regret, and she ends her life, or well, her life ends when she rescues a young girl from Truck-kun. Man, that darn Truck-kun, he takes out more protagonists than just about any villain I can think of. But anyway, so when she dies, she meets God, which, you know, is kind of par for the course in these type stories. And, well, God's actually really appreciative, because apparently this young girl that Misato saved, well, God's got his eye on her for some great things in the future, and oops, he looked away for a minute and didn't see that truck coming, and so Misato saved him a whole lot of problems by saving this young girl. So he says, you know what, let me give you another shot at life in another world, but I'll give you, you know, I'll grant you a wish. What would you like? Like, what do you want set up for you? And she just says to him, I just want to be average. I'm tired of everybody expecting so much of me. I'm tired of people not wanting to be my friend because they just think that since I'm capable that I'm not approachable, or I can't be any fun, or so just make me average. And God is like, well, okay, that's kind of weird, but sure, all right. So she is reborn as Adele Van Ashem, a mid-level nobility in the country in which she lives. And she's not had the greatest life. I mean, obviously she's done better than a lot of poorer people, but her grandfather and her mother have been murdered by bandits, and since then her dad has remarried, and her stepsister and stepmother, and pretty much her dad at this point, all treat her fairly coldly, and it's become really obvious to her, especially with the added maturity of an 18-year-old, that she's basically being replaced. She's basically being forced out of the picture, and she's being sent off to a boarding school. Thing is that now that she has had her memories awaken and that promise of being average kind of awaken within her, she discovers that God's idea of average is a little bit different than her own. For her, her idea of average is you take all the people in the world, from the weakest to the strongest, you mash them together, divide by the number of people, average. You know, same thing with intelligence, same thing with even like your position in society. But no, what God's actually decided is that, well, if there's 6 classes of people from the poorest to the richest, you're going to be the middle class. If intelligent beings in this world go from weakest, which is, I don't know, humans, or, well, even just weakest creatures in general, which could be, slugs, and the strongest is an elder dragon, you're going to go right in the middle between the humans and the elder dragon, because that's average. So she actually finds out that she is ridiculously OP compared to the, well, even the most gifted human beings. And so she embarks on this mission to essentially do her best to try and portray herself as just a normal, average girl so that she can make friends and lead a normal, average life. And of course, the book, half the comedy is that, well, you probably can guess just how well that's going to work out for her. Now, I fully admit, for some reason I put off reading this for a while. I guess, maybe it was just because I've read a lot of isekais, or, well, I don't really know. Maybe it was also I was a little bit intimidated because it's, like, it looks really long, but actually, I gotta admit, I read through this really quick because it's a lot of fun. I have to admit, I kind of regret that I waited this long to read this. So this one, there's a couple of really fun points to it. So first of all, we have a main character who is clueless and yet not clueless. I really enjoyed her as a main character because she works so hard to be average, and yet she's clueless in the fact that it's clear to everybody else that she's anything but. But she also then embarks on this mission of trying to help everybody else become better, so that if they're stronger, she won't stick out as much. But at the same time, she's not completely clueless. There are certainly times in the book where she realizes that she's blown it, that she went too far, and she has made it very clear that she's not just average. She has these moments where she will take advantage of her powers if she has to, even though, again, not always in the way that she hoped they would turn out. I just kind of found her a very approachable main character, and the fact that she really doesn't have these crazy aspirations. She doesn't want to be, the most powerful that she can be, and she's not going to war against the gods or, take down the demon lord. Like, she just wants to be average. She just wants to have friends. And I think what's really great about this book as well is that she does have friends. She does get those friendships. And most of those friendships come when she stops trying to pretend that she's someone other than who she is. When she starts letting people in, when she starts displaying that, yes, she is maybe a little bit more capable than what she tries to portray, that is when she starts gaining friendships. When she starts putting others' needs ahead of her own and helping them ahead of her own. And even though the idea initially may be kind of selfish, the fact that she does it is what earns her those friendships. And this isn't like one of those reverse harem type series. There's not a ton of guys chasing after her. I mean, there certainly are some guys chasing after her, but what's great is that she really just doesn't have interest in that. She is just interested in having friends. She's just interested in trying to live the most normal, average life that she possibly can. I think the other thing that really pushes this book ahead is the fact that it's actually kind of like there's two parts to this book, and I was a little surprised by that because I didn't expect it. So she goes away to this boarding school, and honestly, it happens fairly quickly, so it's not a massive spoiler, but she ends up feeling that she must leave the boarding school, and then ends up like adopting a new persona, which instead of being Adele, she's now Mile, and as Mile, she becomes an adventurer because, well, obviously with the abilities she has, she's, pretty decent at killing monsters and such things, so it kind of makes sense. And then the rest of the book, the bulk of the book, is about her adventurer life and learning to become an adventurer and how the world works and stuff like that. There's a lot of world building in this book. I wouldn't say that the world itself is incredibly unique. there is definitely a unique take on magic. I don't really want to spoil it because it was kind of one of those, when it first came out, I had no idea. I didn't know that this was how it worked. But when you first find out about it, I did laugh at first. And then I was like, oh, well, I guess, well, okay. That funny enough makes sense. But at the same time, that's kind of crazy. But it's fun. I enjoyed it. I liked how magic works in this world and why it works the way that it does in this world. All of those things are explained and they all make sense. So that part I liked about this world. Other than that, the world building I wouldn't say is really anything uber unique at this point. I mean, really, it's a pretty straight ahead sort of fantasy setting with your standard monsters and your sort of medieval structured kingdoms and so forth. So not a whole lot in the world at this point that stands out as being incredibly unique other than, like I said, the magic system, which again, when I really think about it, I don't know if any book I have ever read that's a light novel has described magic the way that this book goes about it. So that was kind of cool, actually. I did really like that aspect of it. And as Mile, she goes to this training place for learning how to be an adventurer, and she meets up with a group of girls, and they are a really good supporting cast. They all have individual personalities. They all have quirks, definitely have quirks. Not quite the crazy Konosuba level of quirk, but definitely quirks that make them unique and fun, interesting characters. The end part of this book had me laughing a number of times because of, well, just because it's just really ridiculously funny, and because of the quirkiness of her cohorts that she meets and her friends. So I mean, overall, like, the actual setup of the book, not incredibly unique. I mean, like I said, Truck-kun strikes again and kills a Japanese person, and they get reborn into another world and are ridiculously powerful. But the fact that the character goes to such lengths just to try and lead a normal life, it's funny, it leads to a lot of sort of good comedy moments. I liked the focus a lot more on the whole friendship aspect and building these meaningful relationships, not just your tropey harem kind of things. So that certainly made it a bit different. I liked the fact that even the fact that it was a predominantly female cast made it feel different than most of the other isekais, where it is usually a male character surrounded by a harem of females. So there was just enough stuff in this that made it feel different. And it had a very sort of light tone to it. I'm not saying that it never could be serious, but definitely it was a much less melancholy read than a lot of other books. I mean, even the character of Adele/Mile, when you kind of find out what her situation is as she goes away to this boarding school in the beginning, it's pretty sad and disheartening, and yet she just views it with a smile. She is happy to have an opportunity to try and have a different kind of life. And I just, she's such an approachable character. I really liked her as a main character. Even the supporting characters, particularly as you get into sort of the second 2/3 of the book, really, really good cast of characters there. So overall, I had a lot of fun with this one. It's a little less fluffy than, say, something like I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level, but at the same time, it is still the kind of read that if you're tired of dark gloom, it's a nice kind of bit of an uplifting read with a lot of upbeat characters that you just can really have a lot of fun with. So in keeping with my sort of let's keep things light and fluffy theme, which seems to have been a thing for at least the last couple of books, my next read is going to be volume number 5 of Konosuba, God's Blessing on This Wonderful World. From characters with quirky to characters that are just, they're just damaged. I don't know. But they got quirks on top of their quirks. So that's going to be my next review. So if you love light novels, or maybe you're just starting to get into them, you should consider subscribing. I do reviews like this every week, as well as countdowns of the most popular titles in Japan, light novel podcast, news, everything light novels. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.